In the last few months, something significant has been happening inside the US economic system, something many people haven't yet noticed. It's not a headline, it's not a political argument, it's a shift in how institutions, courts, and markets are responding to the direction of national economic policy. When legal boundaries tighten, when courts reconsider the limits of presidential authority, and when long-standing economic tools like tariffs face new scrutiny, the effects don't stay in Washington. They ripple into the financial system, consumer markets, and business planning. This isn't about political drama. It's about how economic pressure builds, quietly, gradually, and then unmistakably. The real pressure, structural, not temporary. In my years observing markets, one lesson has never failed. Trouble doesn't arrive with alarms. It grows silently in the background. You don't watch speeches. You watch numbers. You watch how companies adjust to policy shifts. You watch how households react when costs rise. And right now, the signals are telling us something important. The US economy is under more structural tension than most people realize. Not because of one event, but because several pressures are converging at the same time. Tariffs, the first pressure point. Tariffs can be powerful tools, but only when used with precision and predictability. The recent expansions have introduced something markets dislike far more than taxes: volatility. Here's what happens. Importers pay more immediately. Those higher costs enter supply chains. Businesses adjust pricing. Consumers absorb the final impact. We're already seeing this reflected in food prices, manufacturing input costs, household essentials. This isn't speculation. Multiple independent economic analyses confirm that inflation is measurably higher because of tariff layering. Tariffs can protect industries, yes, but protection doesn't work if domestic costs rise faster than global competitors. It becomes a self-inflicted weight, not an advantage. Government gridlock. The second pressure. Markets don't require perfect government. They require predictable government. The recent prolonged shutdown exposed hidden weaknesses. Airports strained. Regulatory approvals stalled. Business lending slowed. Federal services paused. Millions of families felt disruptions. These interruptions demonstrated how fragile certain economic functions become when political stalemates last too long. Institutional instability always increases business risk, and when risk rises, investment slows. Court challenges and executive authority. A major shift is developing in the legal system. Courts are questioning how far executive powers can stretch regarding emergency trade auctions, tariff authority, and economic declarations. When justices across ideological lines express concern, investors take notice. Because legal uncertainty is worse than strict rules. A company can adapt to any stable law, even a tough one, but it cannot plan around a rule that might change tomorrow. This uncertainty is already affecting corporate planning cycles. Erosion of institutional credibility. One of the most valuable assets any government has is public trust. When messaging about tariffs, inflation, or economic strategy shifts repeatedly, when forecasts are revised quietly, when explanations change after data becomes undeniable, confidence weakens. Once credibility slips, every policy becomes harder to execute. Households feel the real impact. Families don't need economic theory. They feel reality in grocery bills, electricity costs, rent, insurance premiums, loan payments. If people believe they're falling behind financially, no statistic can convince them otherwise. This is creating voter fatigue, not ideological, but economic. Small business strain, an underrated crisis. Large corporations can absorb tariff shocks. Small and mid-sized businesses cannot. When import costs rise unpredictably, smaller companies must raise prices, cut expenses, reduce staff, limit expansion. This weakens local economies and reduces job creation. Small business confidence surveys show stress levels not seen in years. Global perception is shifting. The US has always been viewed as the world's most stable market, but abrupt tariff changes and political disruptions have raised doubts abroad. Global companies are already moving supply chains, creating alternative sourcing routes, and diversifying outside U.S. channels. Once supply chains reroute, they rarely return. Market behavior signals caution. Investors aren't panicking. They're doing something more subtle: hedging. More defensive positions, more cash reserves, more risk-off strategies, slower long-term commitments. This is how markets behave when they expect turbulence, not collapse. The widest gap: data versus reality. This is the key danger zone. Stock markets look strong, but household budgets are tight. Job numbers appear stable, but wage growth is uneven. Corporate profits rise, but small businesses feel cornered. This kind of divergence cannot last forever. Sooner or later, one side will break. The heart of the problem is policy without a blueprint. The biggest risk today is not tariffs, not inflation, not court rulings. The biggest risk is improvisation. Policies shifting without timelines, narratives changing without explanation, emergency powers used routinely, institutions forced to adapt on the fly. The world's largest economy cannot run on improvisation. The future depends on whether leadership chooses strategy over reaction, partnership with institutions over conflict, transparency over messaging, stability over volatility. If steps are taken towards clarity, predictability, and honesty, the U.S. economy will stabilize quickly. It always has that ability. But if the gap between messaging and reality continues to widen, the pressure we see today will deepen gradually, and then, suddenly. The United States remains the most resilient economy in the world. But resilience is not the same as invincibility. When institutions send warnings, when markets adjust their posture, when households tighten spending, and when businesses hesitate to invest, it is a sign that something fundamental needs correcting. Strong leadership doesn't deny structural pressure. Strong leadership confronts it. Thank you for watching.